Hi, I'm Pastor Gaye. I'm part of the pastoral team at Living Word Church, and I want to share with you some thoughts today on the word rest. Oftentimes when we think of rest, we think of just relaxing, laying back, sleeping, and all of those things are good because we do need those things for our well-being. But Webster's actually gives a few more definitions for the word rest. One is to be free of anxiety. Another is to sit or be fixed or supported. Another is to remain confident. And I really believe that when we rest in God, the Word does talk a lot about us just resting in Him and trusting Him. And so I believe that when we rest in Him, that's where we can live free of anxiety and stress, where we can feel supported and surrounded by Him, where we can be confident in His promises. And so I have a few how-tos. How do we walk in that? This is something I feel like the Lord has been speaking to me for quite a season. It's just how to rest in Him. The first thing, one of the first things God spoke to me in this is that we need to change our focus. A lot of times we get so caught up in being focused on what's going on around us. And a lot of times what we focus on is what we see. Faith isn't based on what we see with our natural eye. And so we have to shift sometimes our priorities in just focusing on faith and God's promises, because those are going to be the things. If we see those things, it's going to change how we view things. And so I really believe that's important particularly in this season. Another thing is sometimes we have our focus on God and on the correct thing, but a lot of times we need to change the lens that we're looking through. And by that, I mean, a lot of times how we view God can also be clouded by things that have happened to us in the past. Sometimes they're clouded by the authority figures that we had in our life. And so we have to look at who God really is. We have to see Him as the loving God that He is. A lot of times we see Jesus as loving, He died on the cross for us. But sometimes it's hard for us to see Father God as loving and caring, but He cares and loves us for us so much. And if we don't see that aspect of His character and experience His love for us, then oftentimes our view of what's going on is clouded, and it hinders our faith in just walking in the promises of God. Another thing that I feel like is important is that we stay in community. Stay connected. Community looks a little different right now. It's not about getting together with your family and friends, but it's just staying connected. The other night during the storm, I felt very much at peace. I didn't really have anxiety. I did go to my basement once my children said, "Mom, why are you not in your basement?" I was just sitting upstairs relaxing and wasn't really thinking that I probably needed to go downstairs. But I got my orders and I went to the basement, and I was here alone. But my kids and I have a group text, and we were texting the whole time, very much connected with each other. I was also connecting with part of the pastoral team, seeing, knowing what's going on with them. And so we were a community connected during a time of crisis. And it really gave me a strength. I wasn't worried at all. And it's important that we stay connected and support one another. Another thing is that sometimes we need to pull back. We need to look at our priorities. This is something that God has really been particularly speaking to me this year. As many of you know that last year my mom passed away. And so at the end of the year and towards the beginning of the year, I was thinking, okay, God, now I'm not having to care for her. So, what else do I need to be doing? I have a tendency sometimes to overcommit. And I felt like God said, this isn't a season to add more things. It's a season to focus on what you're already doing. And so sometimes we have to prioritize those things. You know, he's been speaking to me a lot about not having to check everything off my checklist. I'm very much an administrative type person. I like to have my list and I like to get my stuff done. By the end of the day, everything on my list, I like to have it done so that then I can rest. And rest isn't always about getting everything done on your list. So sometimes I've had to learn to leave some things for the next day because I needed to prioritize my time and not wait to rest and not wait to focus on what I really needed to be focusing on, which was God. And so I'm learning how to do that more and more. Another thing that we need to learn how to trust God. He is an awesome God. He is good and loving, and He cares for us as children. Jesus is our best friend. He's got this. We're in the palm of His hand. We can trust Him to see us through every situation that we're going through. I really believe when we learn to just rest in Him, the results are going to be peace at all times. Peace in the good times, peace in the midst of the storm. Satan always tries to shake us. He tries to cause us anxiety and stress and fear, but when we rest in God, there's a grace to weather the storm and to keep our hearts at peace. So rest in Him and just know He's got us. He's got us in the palm of His hand, and He loves you more than you can even imagine. Have a blessed day.